in various prison houses and inspiring inmates, the prisoners, to take to Krishna consciousness. And thousands of prisoners have their lives have been transformed by Maharaj association. Maharaj has written a very beautiful book also, Holy Jails. And every year Maharaj comes to India. A couple of years because of Corona, we didn't had association, but we always feel very inspired by his association. We can just see he's more than 75 years, but Maharaj is so energetic, enthusiastic. Even young teenagers are, failing in front of his enthusiasm in chanting and dancing. So Maharaj is very much known for his wonderful kirtans and wonderful katha, especially Chaitanya Leela. So we are very happy and honored to have him here. So let us welcome His Holiness Chandra Mouli Swami Maharaj to Sri Sri Nitai Gauranga Temple, ISKCON Newtown, by loudly chanting 3 times. Haribo! 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 Maharaj is also serving as a Diksha Guru in ISKCON.
If you go to jail, just write me. But don't go. If you go to preach. So there are many devotees inside also. So should we do the previous verses from the previous chapter, or should we just focus on this verse? Well, there's about 10 verses from the previous chapter. This is all about King Nagajit and all of the different, his wife Satya, his daughter Satya, and then Krishna takes away Satya, and the Yadu army fights back all of the soldiers who come to attack Krishna. Now we're going into the next chapter. Sri Raja Uvacha. Let's see. Okay, we'll do the next. Sri Sukha Uvacha. Indrana Rita Chatrena. Rita Kundala Mandana. Rityama Radhi Stanena. Yapito Moma Chaitasam. Sarbargo Garuda Daha. Rajyotisha Puram Yo-Yo. Sri Sukha Uvacha. Indriya Rita Chatrena. Rita Kundala Baduna. Rita Maradhistanena. Kyapito Bhoma Chaitasam. Sabargo Gladarudaha. Rajyotisa Puram Yayo. Chant. else? Do you want to do the Bengali? Do we have to translate? Is this translation? No? Everyone understands English? Okay. So verse number 1, this is the beginning of the chapter, the killing of the demon Naraka. King Parikshit said, how was Bhaumasura, who kidnapped so many women, killed by the Supreme Lord? Please narrate this adventure of Lord Sarngadavas. Verse 2 and 3. Sukadeva Goswami said, after Bhoma had stolen the earrings belonging to Indra's mother, along with Varuna's umbrella and the demigod's playground at the peak of the Mandara mountain, Indra went to Lord Krishna and informed him of these misdeeds. The Lord, taking his wife Satyabhama with him, then rode on Garuda to Pratyodhita Pura, which was surrounded on all sides by fortifications consisting of hills, unmanned weapons, water, fire, and wind, and by the obstructions of Mura Pasa wire. Translation: Mura Pasa wire probably means barbed wire, something like that. The Acharyas have explained in various plausible ways why Lord Krishna took his wife Satyabhama with him. Srila Sridhar Swami begins by saying that the Lord wanted to give his adventurous wife a novel experience and thus took her to the scene of this extraordinary battle. Also, Lord Krishna had once granted the blessing to Bhumi, the goddess of earth, that he would not kill her demoniac son without her permission. Since Bhumi is an expansion of Satyabhama, the later could authorize Krishna to do the needful with the unusual nasty Bhaumasura. Finally, Satyabhama had been miffed by Narada Muni. He brought a celestial flower to Queen Rukmini. To pacify Satyabhama, Lord Krishna had told her, I'll give you the whole tree of these flowers, and thus the Lord scheduled his procurement of a heavenly tree within his itinerary. Krishna knows how to do many things in one go. Even nowadays, devoted husbands take their wives shopping. Yes? This is not for the brahmacharis. And thus the Lord took Satyabhama to the heavenly planets to get a heavenly tree, as well as to retrieve the goods Bhaumasura had stolen and return them to their rightful owners. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti notes that in the heat of the battle, Queen Satyabhama would naturally become anxious for Lord Krishna's safety and pray for the end of the battle. Thus she would readily give permission to Krishna to kill the son of her expansion, Bhumi. Umagyantimirandasya Ganajana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Utale Shmati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Pastyatya Destarine Panchakalpa Taruvescha Kripa Sindhu Bhebhacha Nanam Bhavane Bhyo Vaishnave Bhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Bhuttaranda Shri Advaita Gada Srivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead is perfect in every aspect of life, even knowing how to please his wife. It's the duty of the husband to somehow pleased her wife. But that's not easy, but still, the duty is there. There's a lot of duties that are not easy. So in this case, what is Krishna doing? He's doing something quite unusual. He's taking his female consort, his wife, to a very difficult battle, where usually ladies are not involved in such fighting activities. But there's a reason why Krishna wants to accomplish. Of course, Krishna is the supreme protector. So, Rake Krishna More Krishna Rake. If Krishna wants to protect you, nothing can, in this universe, can do any harm to you. Krishna's power is complete and supreme. But if Krishna doesn't give you protection, even if you are surrounded by armies and generals and many kinds of invincible weapons, still you can't survive. So this is very important to understand that with the protection, when Krishna is there is always protection. There's, as it says in the end of Bhagavad Gita by Sanjay, wherever there is the Supreme Lord, wherever there is a pure devotee, there is opulence, victory, morality, and extraordinary power. Well, the presence of Krishna in our life makes everything perfect, and that is the actual goal of life, to bring Krishna into our life. But you see here in his pastimes, in these with his wife, he thinks of different ways to please his wife and at the same time get his mission accomplished. It says that sometimes when we do something, we have a particular goal when we want to do something, and usually there's a one goal in mind when we want to do something. So we look for that result and we go for it. But when Krishna does something, he does 5 or 6 things at once, or maybe more. He knows how to do so many things by doing one thing. And this is the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He wants to get rid of this demon, but he promises. Now, he makes a promise. And so they say one of the highest qualities in human culture is to give your promise and never break it. This is called human goodness. Human goodness. There's 3 things that make up human goodness. One is to give your word and keep your word, despite whatever, just like you say, yes, Guru Maharaj, I will chant Hare Krishna 16 rounds and follow 4 regulative principles throughout my whole life. Please give me a name. Okay, you are Japadas. Okay. And then after some time, how many rounds are you chanting? Well, I chant 16 rounds in 1 week. You know, I get 16 rounds done, but 1 week takes. So after some time, the promises are somehow been challenged by circumstances, and circumstances wins out, and the promise falls away. But that is not a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava gives his word, just like a Vaishnava says he's going to do something, even if it's difficult when the time comes, or even if it's even dangerous when the time comes, he will not give out, he would not go back on his word. Especially for those who are in the Dharma of Kshatriya. They will never break their word. They consider breaking their word as worse than death. And death is even more suitable than to give up. Just like Arjuna. Arjuna, when he was fighting, when Abhimanyu was killed, he decided to kill Jayadratha, who was the cause of killing his son Abhimanyu unfairly. It's a very long story in the Mahabharata. And so Arjuna said, I will kill Jayadratha, or if I fail to kill Jayadratha, I will enter into fire and give up my life. So he was determined to do that. But Krishna was also listening to this whole promise. And so there was a great battle. And the Kauravas knew that if they could protect Jayadratha from being killed by Arjuna, and Arjuna gives up the life, then the Kauravas would definitely win the battle. because of the presence of Arjuna, and it was very difficult for them to win. And so it was a good plan. And the Kauravas did everything. They put their best generals around Jayadratha and put him at the end of the battlefield. The battlefield was 28 miles long. That's how big that battlefield was. 640 million soldiers were killed, and of course many millions survived. So it was a big area. And so Arjuna was fighting, and Krishna's on the chariot. And Krishna is encouraging Arjuna, don't waste time with these other soldiers, go right for Jayadratha. Because the rule is that once the sun goes down, the battle stops. So if they could protect Jayadratha all the way until the sundown, then Arjuna would have to enter into the fire. So they had some of the best generals. There was Dronacharya, there was also Duryodhana, there was even Bhishma. They were all giving protection to Jayadratha. It was impossible for Arjuna. And they kept Jayadratha way at the far end of the battlefield, where Arjuna would have to fight so many other soldiers to get there. But Krishna said, don't waste time, go right for Jayadratha. And so he was fighting, getting closer and closer and closer. But it was getting late in the afternoon, and the sun started to make its descent over the horizon. And then, as it was going, Arjuna wasn't able to get to Jayadratha. It was becoming very difficult, and the sun was heading down. And then finally, what happened? It appeared that the sun set. And then when the sun set, all the Kauravas said, Jai! And then that meant Arjuna was going to enter the fire, and they stopped fighting. But then Krishna said, kill him. So Arjuna went and killed Jayadratha because now he was unguarded. And the Kauravas thought, what is Arjuna doing? He's breaking Kshatriya codes. Once the fighting stops, then the battle ceases. But what Krishna did is he took a cloud and covered the sun to make it look like the sun was down. And then after he killed Arjuna, Krishna let the cloud go and the sun was still in the sky. So, Rake Krishna More Ke, More Rake Krishna Ke. Then, if Krishna wants to give you protection, all the laws of material energy can't destroy it. This is a nice example how Krishna, he's perfect in all, and Kantiya Pratijanihi Maname Bhakta Pranashiti. He's always giving his protection to his devotees. In fact, he breaks his promise. Just like he said, I'm not going to fight. But when it came to Bhishma Dev wanted to destroy Arjuna, so he was fighting like, the whole story goes that at night after the battle, they would come together, the two armies, they would sit together, the leaders, they would sit in the tents and they would talk and they would have, some refreshments and talk as friends. And then the next day they would fight as enemies. This is Kshatriya codes. So Arjuna came one night after the battle and there was there and Krishna had told Arjuna that, Duryodhana, he owes you a promise, so you collect that promise from him. So he went to Duryodhana and said, my dear Duryodhana, you remember you gave me a promise I could ask anything from you. Duryodhana said, yes. What do you want? You want to win? You want the battle? No, we'll fight. What do you want? Well, actually, what happened the day before is that Duryodhana, I have to go back a little bit, and said to Bhishma Dev, you are the leader, you are the general of our army, but you're not fighting. You're not fighting to your capacity. And that's an insult. You tell a Kshatriya you're not fighting their capacity. That's like an insult, big insult. Bhishma Dev said, all right, tomorrow I will destroy the entire Pandava army. And he had the power to do it. Bhishma Dev was so powerful that he also had a boon where he could not die, only if he wanted to die. And so when he got insulted, he said, all right, I have these 5 arrows, and with these 5 arrows I will kill the 5 Pandavas, for sure. But Duryodhana said, all right, but I'll keep the arrows with me, and then tomorrow you can get the arrows. And Bhishma Dev gave him the arrows. But then Krishna knew, all right, sent Arjuna to ask for the promise. And when Duryodhana said, what do you want? He said, I want those 5 arrows. And then Duryodhana couldn't get it, so he gave the 5 arrows. When Bhishma found out that he was tricked, he understood it was Krishna's trick to protect Arjuna, so he was fighting really fierce. He was smashing. And finally, when he came to Arjuna, he smashed his chariot with him. And Arjuna fell off, and Krishna fell off too. Krishna hit the ground. But then Krishna decided, now I have to protect my devotee. So he picked up the broken chariot wheel, and you see the picture. You know, he's running full with his eyes are like red, like fire. His charter is blowing in the wind. And he's running so fast that the charter falls off, and then Krishna just keeps going. And Bhishma Dev was thinking, thank you very much. This is what I wanted. I wanted to see, Parthasarthi. I wanted to see Krishna in that battlefield mood. And so he was fighting with Krishna, and then, of course, Arjuna came and fought with Bhishma Dev, but Bhishma Dev didn't fight back. And Arjuna, of course, meant that was when Bhishma Dev was shot with so many arrows, but he didn't die because he still had that boon. So Krishna broke his promise. So some people say, well, we like Ram better because when he says, he keeps his word. But Krishna says something and then he tricks you. He says, this Krishna consciousness is really easy, but it's not. The spiritual master says, chant, dance, and eat prasadam, and that's all there is. And then, Acharya Ratna comes and says, you got to go out there and dig a hole, because we need some construction. So, so you can, there's other things. You chant, dance, and take prasadam is the essence of everything we do. But, we have to also dedicate our time, energy, and resources in order to give that to Krishna, because if we keep anything back for ourselves, then that is not full surrender. So, and it's what it says, Manaso Deho Geho Yokichu Arpilu Tu Alperne Nanda Kishore. Bhakti Vinod Thakur prays like that. And in my life, my wife, my home, my possessions, my body, it's yours. It belongs to you. I am yours. Krita Janmo. How does that go? Krita Janmo. Somebody asks, what is complete surrender? You just chant that mantra. That's all. That's complete surrender. Now, it doesn't matter. I'm yours. Whatever you want to do, that's fine. Alisyava pinaratam punastuma vadarshanam marmahatam karotuva yata tatava vidadatu lampato matpranam nastu sevanapa. But maybe we're not ready for that level of surrender yet. But that's okay. But if we have faith that in Krishna and very carefully execute the process of devotional service, we will understand how everything in life centers around our relationship to Krishna. Nothing is separate from Krishna. You see here, he's taking time to take care of his wife. He wants to bring her to the battlefield, but he has a motivation. That's Krishna. Just like I was saying, you can't trust Krishna because he says one thing and does something else. What are you going to do? You have to trust the spiritual master. He's more in line So it's not that Krishna's untrustworthy. That's not the point. Is that he always acts on the highest level of benefit for his devotee. So if his devotee gets in trouble and he has to break his promise in order to save his devotee, then he'll do that. He'll do that. When apparently Sita was, captured by Ravana, and then after the battle was over, the battle of Lanka, and Sita was back, Ram said, you're impure. You've been touched by another man. Can't take you back. And he was serious. So he was following very strictly, these principles of Dharma, especially when it comes to, Patni Dharma. What is it called? What is husband called? Pati. Pati and Patni. Yeah, okay. Pati. Pati. He was following very strictly the principles of a strict husband, according to Vedic culture. But then, when Sita proved herself, she was back, and Ram was happy, and then they were in Ayodhya, and Ram's walking one day. He used to go and to see what the people were saying. He would sometimes go in disguise to hear what the citizens were speaking about. Sometimes they would be speaking about him. So he heard one man chastising his wife. Where were you last night? You were out all night. I didn't see you at all. Now you're coming back. You expect me to take you back? You're unchaste. I'm not like Ram, who takes back his unchaste wife. Whoa, when Ram heard that, even though she proved herself before that, and Ram said to Lakshman, I think we have another plan here. We have to send Sita away. Of course, that man was later on the same. He took birth again in Krishna Lila, that same person who was chastising his wife. He was the washerman in Krishna Lila, and Krishna cut off his head. Because he gave him a haircut, shaved him up, made him ready for his next life. So, yes, so in that sense, you see how Ram was dharmic in everything he did. But Krishna follows Dharma on a higher level. It's like he has so many wives, right? He has 16,108 queens. He's one person, right? So many wives, gopis, Lakshmis. He expands himself. He likes girls, right? So many girls. Right? There was one court case in America where we were accused of worshiping a licentious god, a god that likes to play with so many girls. And so the Christians, they took us to court. It was a big court case. It was a famous court case, and they were going to try to prove by legal declaration that we were unauthorized for following some kind of, bogus religion. There's a God who's got so many wives. And what kind of God is that? So that was the accusation against us. And so when the case was going on, there were many Christians in the courtroom, and some of the Christians were nuns. They were these women who were, Catholic nuns. So our lawyer was really good. He had a good lawyer. He said to the judge, "Can I ask the nuns in the courtroom a question?" And the judge said, "Yeah." "Isn't it," then he said, "Yeah." He said to the nuns, "Isn't it true that when you take your vow of becoming a nun, you actually declare that you are the bride of Christ?" And that's their vow. They take a vow that I'll become the bride of Christ. So they couldn't lie. They said, "Yeah." So the lawyer said, "Just see, Christ has so many wives." And then then we won the case. They threw the case in. That was the whole thing. So yeah, so that's the point. That it's not on a material level that Krishna has so many wives. Here he has one wife. Here, Satyabhama. She's the one that never listens to Krishna. She always argues with Krishna. She's actually an expansion of Srimati Radharani, come again in the form of his queen. There's one story where um, Krishna was there, and Satyabhama was with Krishna, and then Balaram was there. So Krishna called Garuda and said, Garuda, go to Ayodhya and tell Hanuman I want to see him. Bring Hanuman. So Garuda, very dutiful, flies to Ayodhya. And there's Hanuman, he's worshipping a deity of Ram. And he's absorbed in worshipping. So Garuda says, he tries to get the attention of Hanuman. Hanuman, Krishna's in Dwarka. He wants you to come. You can jump on my back, we can go fast. And Hanuman, he doesn't want to be bothered. He's worshipping Ram. So he doesn't listen. He doesn't even acknowledge the presence of the Garuda. So Garuda's persistent. Finally Hanuman gets disturbed and he takes his tail and he hits Garuda. And Garuda goes, without even flying, he lands all the way back to Dwarka. And then Krishna said, what happened? No more missions like that, please. And he said, well, Hanuman's busy worshipping Ram. He didn't want to come. All right. So then Krishna said, all right, you tell him Ram's in Dwarka. And then you bring him. And then Krishna took the form of Ram. And Balaram took the form of Lakshman. And then he said to Satyabhama, you become Sita. And she said, no. She refused. And so Krishna was stuck. So then he went to Rukmini and he asked her, and she said, of course, she's more obedient. If you get married, don't have more than one wife because it's really a problem. Prabhupada said just to maintain one wife in Kali Yuga is so difficult. And so now Hanuman goes again, and then he comes very carefully. He's thinking, uh-oh. And he said, Hanumanji, Krishna's in, Ram's in Dwarka. Come immediately, he wants to see you. And then Garuda looks at him. Where's Hanuman? He's gone. Even before he finished, and then when Garuda went back to Dwarka, there was Hanuman sitting at the feet of Lakshman, Ram, and Sita. That's a nice story. Of course, we made the point that, Satyabhama doesn't listen. But that's nice. Krishna likes that. If you're married, and everything is going nicely, it's boring. You need some excitement in the marriage, so you fight with your wife once in a while. And that keeps the life in, This is not for brahmacharis. This is for whoever else is married here. It keeps the relationship, fresh. Of course, don't fight too seriously. That's a problem. Yeah, so Krishna takes his wife, and then because Bhumi is an expansion of Satyabhama, and he wants to kill her son. So he already kept his promise. So if he gets the blessings from Satyabhama to kill Bhaumasura, then his mission is successful. Because when the devas are in trouble and they can't manage things, when the demons become too powerful, then what happens? They go to first they try to go to Indra, but Indra's in trouble here. He can't do anything. Bhaumasura is even stealing things from Indra. So they go to Brahma. Somehow Brahma didn't get involved in this one. I guess he was too busy. So they went. So Indra went right to Krishna instead of going to Brahma this time. Sometimes he goes to Brahma. And Krishna said, all right, I can take my wife on a pleasure trip and at the same time fulfill your desire. So that's Krishna. Just like many times the demigods get overwhelmed by the demons, and then Brahma comes to Svetadweep. That's what happened when we read about Krishna's appearance in the material world 5,000 years ago, is that the earth was overrun by demoniac forces and Bhumi was under a lot of stress. So she went to Indra, Indra went to Brahma, Brahma took all the main demigods and went to the shore of the Milk Ocean and offered beautiful prayers called Purusha Shukta prayers in order to bring the Supreme Lord into, because even Brahma couldn't turn around the power. The demons sometimes, just like it says, when the mode, this is a very important verse, it's in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says when the mode of goodness is prominent in society or in the world, the demigods are in control. When the mode of passion is prominent in the world, the demons are in control. And when the mode of ignorance is prominent in the world, the Rakshasas and Yakshas, really low creatures, they are in control. So that's why you see there's so many problems now, because the demons are in control. That is today's society. It's run by demons. People may not be demons, but they're being used by the demons to exploit the rest of the society. And there's so many problems now. And that's the problem, the demons. People are generally good, but because of the influence of the demons, they become bad because of that. And what is the demons' propaganda? What is their main propaganda? Don't listen to authority. Become your own authority. You know what's best. You know what's right. You can make your own decisions. You're a free person. And then people start accepting this idea, rejecting authority, because authority becomes something like some kind of restriction in people's life. So they think, well, but you have to work with authority to understand the benefit of working under authority. But sometimes, just like sometimes people used to say, this is for the West, that we would be preaching in the West and we'd say, you know, you should practice you should practice spirituality, you should practice Krishna consciousness. You should come and become a member of our society. Sometimes we give direct. And they say, we don't believe in organized religion. So we tell them, we're not organized. You missed a joke. We're not an organized religion. We're pretty unorganized. But we're trying. And that unorganization takes the form of chanting, dancing, and feasting. If we can organize around that, then everything is organized. So the point is that the world right now, in general, is being controlled by demons, very powerful demons. You don't even know who they are. They work above the governments, and they have power within the governments. They control the governments. They control everything through various agencies. And they've been doing this for the last 300 or 400 years. They've been just increasing their power more and more and more. But don't worry, Lord Chaitanya's movement is here. And Lord Chaitanya's movement will eventually push out this demonic influence. But it's up to us to do it through the process of Harinam Sankirtan and developing self-sufficient, come back to the land, cows, agriculture, simple living, high thinking, not so much dependent on this materialist civilization. India now is being inundated by the Western ideas that you have to have big buildings, you have to have nice cars, you have to have nice clothes, you have to, everything has to be first class. But once you start doing that, and then you have no time for the most important thing, and that is, atatu brahma jigyasa. That human form of life is meant for self-realization. So it's not wrong to have nice things, but it's wrong to substitute nice things for our spiritual practice. That is the problem. And that's what's happening. People think, yeah, we've been too long following God and religion, spirituality. Therefore, now we need to, as Prabhupada said when he was in New York, he was preaching at one college. And it was an engineering college. And one boy at the end of the college, he said, Swamiji, what you're saying is very nice, but we need technology. This is what we need now. So that's the mood now. You have to have technology. You have to have all of these things, and you have to have a plan to make more of it. So that's demoniac. It's demoniac because it saps the energies of the earth. It saps the energies of the individual. If we want to conserve time, energy, and resources, direct everything towards simple living. Cow protection, agriculture, all of these are the basis of a happy life where life becomes easy, and then we can chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Because we need time. We need time. Okay, so I'll stop here. See if there's any questions or comments. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I have two questions. One is you were talking about three principles of human goodness, if I'm correct.
Right, I mentioned only one.
You mentioned one, so other two.
The second one is that when someone is in need and you can help them, you should do that. That is another principle of human goodness. To help when a person is in need, whatever need they have, if you can make a difference, if you don't, you're actually falling below the proper attitude of a human being. When someone is in trouble, when someone is in need, if you can do something to relieve their suffering, that is human goodness also. Whatever it may be. If someone is unhealthy, if you can help them get back their health. If someone is in trouble, if you can do something to mitigate their situation. And the third one, I can't remember. I'm sorry, I just can't remember the third one right now. But there are three. Keeping your word, helping others when they're in need. And what's the last one? I can't remember. I just read it last night. It's Kali Yuga. Can't remember. Kali Yuga memory goes, right?
Thank you for sharing two principles, man.
Anyway, I'll find the third one and I'll pass it over somehow.
My second question is, we're talking about the quality of demons to deny any authority. But then Prabhupada also wanted devotees to be independently thoughtful.
Yeah.
So where do we draw a line? What is independently thoughtful and what is denying the authority?
Yeah. Independently thoughtful means within the context of what is acceptable. That means I use my independence, my thoughtfulness, to how to increase the quality of my service, how to preach Krishna consciousness, how to maybe develop more projects that will be beneficial. In other words, it's not about negativity. Yeah, it's within the context of the process of bhakti to be independently thoughtful. In other words, just to follow the rules and regulations of bhakti, it gets you off the material platform. But bhakti begins when you actually use your intelligence how to serve the Lord nicely. That's rules and regulations are just to protect you from falling into Maya. But bhakti begins when you actually are engaged nicely in devotional service. So in that engagement, you can use your thoughtfulness in order to how to improve the quality of one's service. Just like sometimes the rules and regulations restrict bhakti from developing. So one has to be able to see that, just like niyamagraha. One of the principles is niyamagraha. That means following the rules and regulations just for the sake of following and not know why you're doing it. And the other aspect is niyamagraha, means to reject rules and regulations and act independently and whimsically. Both of those are faults in the process of bhakti. So using your intelligence in a positive way, sukritina, not duskritina.
Thank you, Maharaj. That was very valuable.
And you see, Prabhupada, sometimes he broke certain principles in order to do higher principles. It's like one time he was in the temple, and Prabhupada was just there in the temple. A very, very important person came into the temple. So Prabhupada was with some brahmacharis. He said to one brahmachari, well, bring some maha. He wanted to give some maha for the guest. So the devotee went back towards the pujari room, and the pujari had just put the offering on the altar. And so he said to the devotee, you have to wait, we just made the offering now. It'll be ready in 15 minutes. So the boy walks back to Prabhupada and tells Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, no, get it now. So the brahmachari goes back into the pujari room, and that time the pujari is chanting his Gayatri. And then the devotee walks onto the altar, picks up the deity plate, and starts walking off. And the pujari's, that was a fast Gayatri, really. So he's going back to Prabhupada with the deity plate, with the maha on it, and the pujari's chasing him. And they both come to Prabhupada. So who's wrong? Nobody's wrong. They're following the guru. They follow the spiritual master. And he can make adjustments according to how he sees those adjustments are made. Like Prabhupada said, I made adjustments that people criticized me for. I allowed women to be equally accepted within the society of active devotional service. That was never done, generally, before that. But when Prabhupada preached in the West, he did that because he knew in the West you can't discriminate. And he said, I became successful because of that. So Acharya can sometimes, and also devotees can also, who are really fixed in their devotional service, who act only for the benefit of the Lord and the benefit of spreading Krishna, they sometimes can adjust religious principles. So that means independently thoughtful. That's an example of independently thoughtful. Any other questions? You said you had two questions, right? Oh, yeah, right. And then this one. Okay, thank you. Okay, no more questions? Prashna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much for explaining so nicely. Mm, I had one question regarding this the pride. We find here this Indra in this episode is going to fight with Krishna for because Krishna would take the Parijata tree for the pleasure of Satyabhama. However, we have seen in the past that Indra has realized his insignificant position in front of Krishna in Vrindavan, and he has offered prayers, but still he challenges Krishna for the fight.
We do the same thing. We fight with
Yeah,
Krishna.
so therefore, how do we the pride is so deep rooted? We can see here. I mean,
Yeah,
what is the way?
we also fight with Krishna. He says do something and we do something else.
So how do we overcome this pride, which is so much deep rooted?
Yeah, when you understand that whatever Krishna wants is for your benefit. If you can understand Krishna only acts for the benefit of the devotee. He is the well-wisher of all living entities. So he may present something that that we can't understand, and then we have a doubt whether we should do it, or we think we have a better idea. Indra, because he has a powerful position. Look what he did when Krishna stopped at Govardhan, the sacrifice. Indra sent all of these torrents of rain into Vrindavan, and that was serious. He wanted to kill the inhabitants of Vrindavan. So his pride and his position, if you have a lot of power and you have a lot of resources and you're getting a lot of responsibility, there's a tendency sometimes to become proud, thinking that I'm important. But that's contrary to bhakti. Jiva Surupai Krishna Nitya Das. Trinada Pisa Nichena Tayori Vasa Hishnana. Maninama Manadena Kirtaniya Sadarahi. So a devotee always thinks that whatever Krishna wants, whatever the spiritual master wants, then that's for my benefit. And that's humility. And that helps to get free from this idea. Because pride is centered around thinking oneself as the center. If you see yourself as the center, then that's pride. If you see Krishna and devotional service as the center, then that's real knowledge. That's real knowledge. So Indra, because of his big position, gets infatuated by that position. He thinks, this Parijata tree belongs to heaven. Who's he going to take it to bring it to the material world? It belongs in the heavenly planets. So yeah, we also see how Lord Shiva, when Banasura came to Shiva saying that, please save me from Krishna, Shiva went fighting with Krishna. Even Shiva opposed Krishna. But he did it because Banasura wanted some protection, and Banasura had surrendered everything to Lord Shiva. So yeah, sometimes people become so powerful that they think they can defy the Supreme Lord.
Maharaj, if the power or position is the cause for the pride, I mean, going to play a very key role in the development of the pride. Then why, when Indra was requesting Krishna to take away the post,
Take away the what?
take away the post as Indra, take away the post of Indra.
Oh, who? Krishna was taking away his position.
Indra, Indra was requesting because I am proud of the position and
Oh
the
yeah,
power.
yeah.
So
That was
please take
go
away.
go.
But then Krishna said, no, no, you be in the post and position
Yeah,
and you keep the service. So if the position and the post
yeah,
is, they have the power to infatuate.
yeah.
So
So
why Krishna then?
that doesn't mean you don't take position. You have to take position, take responsibility, because position means responsibility. But you have to be humble, both. You can't say, well, don't give me position because I might become prideful. But we need somebody for that position. So the temple president says, well, I quit because I don't want to become proud. Then you're going to have to find another temple president. The position is needed. The guru thinks, well, I'm, I'm so learned. I have so many disciples. Everyone's chanting my glories. He thinks, well, I'm I'm tired of that. I want to become humble. Then Arjuna. Arjuna didn't want to fight. Krishna said, "Vasochaman, Vasocham Swan. You're a fool. I'm asking you to fight, but don't fight out of false ego. Fight because it is your duty." So yeah, so you have to take. You can't give up your position because you're afraid that because the position will give you some wrong mentality. So a position is a responsibility, and a responsibility means uh, more service that you can do. So Prabhupada said, you make advancement in devotional service by how much you take on responsibility in devotional service. So it's good to get positions or situations because it's an opportunity for making advancement. It's opportunity for increasing our service. So Indra is there. I mean, Indra fell from his post once before, and he had to leave it. And then, who was it? That one, somebody took his position. Nahusha, yeah. And then, Indra became a pig in the material world. And when Nahusha was kicked out because he was harassing so many people, in other words, he didn't do the job right, so he was removed. There was nobody to be king of heaven. So Brahma came back to Indra and said, Indra was now a pig. He had his piglets, he had his nice pile of stool, so many good things. And then Brahma said, we need you back in the heavenly planets to rule. And Indra, in the form of a pig, said, don't ask me that. I got my wife, I got my stool, I got my kids, got all this nice mud to roll around in. So he didn't want to go back. But Brahma wanted him to come back. And so Brahma started killing his kids. And then Indra started to wake up a little bit. that everything in. So there is spiritual pride, but spiritual pride means Jiva Sarupai Krishna Nityadas. I'm eternal servant of Krishna. But material pride comes in different forms. So what is the worst form of pride? Pride of renunciation? The scriptures give another one. That's two of the six opulences. What are the other? Wealth. Pride of wealth is the strongest of all prides. When people are wealthy, they think, I don't need anything. I got everything I need. I can do anything I want. I can go anywhere I want. I can control other people. So yeah, so pride comes. So Indra, he's wealthy. He's really wealthy. Do this, and you say, I don't. Well, I would like to do something else. He says, well, that's all right. You can do that later, but do this now. Then that's the instruction. Look what happened to Agnidra. Right? Agnidra was completely renounced. No, we're not Agnidra. Priyavrata. Yeah. Priyavrata. Yeah, he was completely renounced, but they needed someone to become the sun god. The sun god position was, and he was the only one qualified to do the service. And so Narada Muni was preaching to him about, stay brahmachari. Your life will be easier. And then, but Brahma, he needed that person, so he had to fill that position. So it was his duty. So he told, and Brahma's his grandfather. So he couldn't refuse Lord Brahma. Brahma said, you get married, we need you in it, because that service is for grihastas, not for brahmachari. Difficult service. And so he did. He didn't want it, but he did it. But then when he got married, he started to become really attached to his wife. And then he started falling into Maya because of that. But then something saved him at the end. I forgot what happened. He took him out of the position. But yeah, so he was simply following the instructions, but because he was following instructions, he was going down. He didn't want it. But then again, at the end, he was saved. So if you follow instructions, even if you go down for a little while, Krishna will save you. But try not to get prideful, because pride is an illusion. We don't have anything, and we're claiming to be so great. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya Jahamriti Sanipisto Matat Smriti Jnanamupanam Cha. If you want knowledge, it comes from me. Remembrance comes from me. Forgetfulness comes from me. And Krishna also says in the Gita, Rasoham apsapkunsaya prabhaspi surya pranava sarvavedishu sabdike purusham nishu. Sabdike purusham nishu means Krishna says, I am the ability in all living entities. Whatever you can do, that's me. That's coming from me. So a person becomes free from pride when they realize whatever I can do or whatever I am, it's the grace of God, it's the grace of my spiritual master. And that's the fact. Any other questions? Okay. It's 9:25 already. You can stop. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.